right, boom. We are live. Box to Box episode number 2. Jumping right into it. My name is Jose. I am your, I don't know, what do we call it? Your central host for the day. I'm joined by two great friends, two people I love bantering with. Alina, aka ggSK, big FIFA content creator, and Andre Gutierrez, former player. Extremely average take for someone who plays at a high level as he did, but we'll jump right into that here in a second. Guys, Monday, crazy weekend. I feel like we got a little bit of everything this weekend, whether you guys were looking for elite level football, drama between players, drama between coaches, a little bit of everything. And most importantly, European top 5 leagues are all back in action. We had not just the EPL, not just Bundesliga and MLS, but we had the Serie A, we had La Liga come back into the fold. Liga is there, but not too many crazy storylines there outside of the PSG drama, and we'll get there. But again, guys, look, how was everybody's weekend? Alina, anything crazy? I know you're geared up for the Juve game today.
It was great, man. I watched as many football games as I could, honestly. And for me, especially like the Premier League games, they start really early, right? So like right at 7 a.m., I'm up and like I have the games in the background on my laptop while I'm like doing my homework, which I probably shouldn't do. But it was great. I loved it. I'm really glad to have La Liga and Serie A, as you guys mentioned, back. And I don't know, it's more to talk about, more to watch.
More to
Oh,
argue over.
oh,
That's for damn sure.
exactly.
A lot. Andres, how are we feeling about? I mean, you had a big weekend, right? Madrid got the job done. Leeds got the job kind of done. They
Yeah.
came back on. It is what it is. But all in all, not a bad weekend, right?
Yeah, it was a great weekend, man. And honestly, I've been traveling a bunch, as you guys know, over the summer. So this weekend, I literally had no plans, laid low, watched footy. And like you said, La Liga's back. We got the W. So yeah, it was pretty exciting to get footy back on.
Awesome, man. I agree. And there's so much to talk about. So we're definitely going
I
to jump
know.
right in. Look, but before we get started, really quick shout out to our partner, GOLZtv. Guys, if you have not heard of GOLZtv is where you get all of your unlimited free footy content 24/7 for free. I'll say that part again, for FREE, GOLZ.tv. That's where you find it. Now, let's jump right in. Guys, a lot of headlines this weekend. I think the one that everybody wants to talk about, maybe doesn't want to talk about because they're a giant brand, they're huge. Manchester United. We thought that the opening match against Brighton was as bad, as you could possibly get, losing 2-1 at home in front of the Man United faithful. And now getting back on the road in front of somewhat of a newly promoted team in Brentford, who was promoted last season. Thrashed, absolutely embarrassed, 4-0. All 4 of those goals coming in the first half. I'm going to start with Andre here to get back over to Alina. I think that, it's kind of crazy to even hear myself say that Brentford literally just had their way with United. Look, man, this is, from a former player's perspective, I definitely want to get your take, Andre. This is pretty embarrassing, man. Like, I don't know what other adjective to throw out there. At first glance, I'm not going to ask you to pinpoint, how they get out of this, but what's the biggest problem? Why can't this team figure it the hell out?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And look, like you said before, it's nothing new. It's been obviously a trend that continues to go downward. I feel really bad for Ten Hag. Like, that's the first thing I'll say. As a former player, you support the coach that is there now. But, dude, I don't know how they figure this out. I mean, is it a clean sweep? Do they get brand new players? Is it, do we give this guy time? Like, if I'm an owner at this point, or any type of director at the club, it's so hard to point fingers, because I mean, it obviously starts with the players on the pitch, but dude, anywhere you look, even like the stars, like let's look at Ronaldo. Last week we talked about how Ronaldo wasn't involved. All right, this week, he's the main focal point in the attack. Didn't do anything. He was lost on the pitch, but you can't point fingers. So I don't know. I mean, looking at them at the bottom of the league, fuck, I don't know.
Yeah, I know, but like, okay, look, Ronaldo didn't do much. He didn't get as much service either. We'll
Sure.
put that out there in the first 10 minutes. But look, what's crazy is that they go down 1-0.
Yep.
And I feel like they're just gone.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I've never seen a team just shut down like that. Anytime they encounter an obstacle, anytime they come up against a problem that they, I don't know, I guess don't know how to solve. I just think, and Alina, stop me if I'm wrong here. I feel like no matter what bullshit's going on behind closed doors, no matter how many new coaches come in, no matter whether or not the fans are begging, imploring for the Glazers to sell. As a player, you kind of just have to take responsibility,
Have a little bit
right?
of pride. Yeah.
Have pride in your own game.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario,
Mhm.
I'm going to make sure I build up my own stock as much as I can,
Yeah.
not just throw my value to the wayside. I mean, Alina, what did you make of that? Just the player performances this weekend.
I don't know, man. I mean, I watched the first half, and luckily for me, and unluckily for United, that's when all the goals happened. And I don't know. I'm gonna start with the players first, because for that first goal, I don't know what De Gea was doing. It's that non-save that you see that stuff on like a local Sunday league, not
Mhm.
in the Premier damn league. Like you cannot do that. It's like are not they have no focus. They have no competitiveness. They are not motivated, and I don't know what they need. I really don't know what they need, because it's not like they don't have the talent. They have some talented players, but for some reason, it's just not working out for them.
They're
And
not.
I,
They
I
don't
feel
have
like,
identity. That's
yeah,
really,
yeah,
it really
and I
comes
feel
down
Okay,
to
like,
that.
the only argument to that is didn't these players have some kind of an identity when they were all brought in, right?
Yeah.
Didn't
No. Totally.
didn't
Yeah.
yeah,
didn't the
Individually.
broader
yeah,
world think that okay, hey, some of these players are actually
Yeah.
pretty damn talented, and worst case scenario, right? Because here's where my mind goes. Worst case scenario, say Ten Hag doesn't have control over the locker room. Say he can't control those personalities.
Hmm.
He can't do what any of these managers also weren't able to do. But at a minimum, what these players should be doing. Let's say that you're still not a cohesive team yet. At a minimum, you can run 100,
Hmm.
110%. You could go hard into every tackle. You could jump for every 50-50 ball. I don't know. I think effort
Yeah.
is. I think when you heard it best in the post game interviews from the Brentford players. When I watched it, they were saying they knew all they had to do was work hard
Hmm.
to win this game against Manchester United. That blows my fucking mind. All they had to do was put in the work at a minimum, and they knew they were going to outpace United and probably win the game.
Hmm.
When that's the formula for success against any club, much less one of the biggest brands globally in football, I don't know where you go.
Hmm.
I think that there is no set answer, and you almost have to just chalk it. You almost have to say, this team cannot do it together. These players individually may be able to elsewhere, but they cannot do it here as a unit. We need to clean house.
Yeah.
And I think that most people have known that. I mean, I don't know what you guys read in transfer news all summer, but I feel like I think Ragnick fucking knew that before he left, right? I think he made
mm,
the recommendation, hey, we need 10 new players.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need
yeah.
that many new players to even get around all the obstacles we've been encountering. And now we're near the end of the window. They haven't had too many departures. They've had some, and they brought in 3 players. 3, one of them on a free.
Hmm.
And Ericsson's a great player, but he was playing for Brentford last season after going through his health troubles, right? So it's not like they brought in this
Big name signing.
extremely
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
name on a free or not, right? They just didn't bring somebody in that I thought was going to drastically change the outlook of that team or have a layer of creativity they didn't have before.
Hmm.
And then we saw Ericsson, right? We saw him make 1 to 2 very crucial mistakes that led to goals. So I don't know. In my opinion, I just think this is I don't know. You could put it on the owners, you could put it on the coach, you could put
Sure.
it on tactics, anything else. I just think it comes down to the players. You either have pride and want to hone in on your craft and be a true professional, or just get the hell out. I don't know. I don't know what else has to happen.
Yeah.
Andre, I mean,
Yeah.
how do you make sense of
The
this?
piece that you mentioned about effort is very key, right? Because when everything goes, haywire, what you can control is what you can control. And as a player, to your point, if you're that elite, right? Let's use the word elite, because there are players on that team that should not be playing for Manchester United. I think we all agree. But if you are playing for Man United, you have the badge on, and you were picked in the starting 11, you're down 2-0 in the first 10 minutes, whatever it is, have a little bit of pride, right? Go into the tackle hard, make the sprint, go up for the 50-50.
The bare minimum. The bare minimum.
Do your job. Simple as that. And if you do it individually, then hopefully collectively, people will start picking up on it. I mean, here's one thing that I saw post game is the following day they were supposed to have a day off. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah.
And Ten Hag made them run their asses off. The practice was one of the most intense ones, some of the players said, that they've ever had in their life, in their full entire playing career, because there was a specific stat that I saw that Brentford players outran Manchester United players by 13.8 kilometers. So as a conglomerate,
Bro.
Brentford ran that much more. So what Ragnick did is he made every player run 13.8 kilometers at training. So if that
Dude.
doesn't make a
Yeah.
statement, I don't know what will. Hopefully players start waking up. But dude, to your point, if control what you can control, man. Like, holy shit, you're playing for Man United. You're not playing for, in the championship. Like, have a little bit of pride.
And does that do anything leading into probably going to be one of the toughest matchups of the year in Liverpool? And I mean, we remember. I think everybody remembers last season. Watching Mo Salah and the crew completely dunk on United at home.
Yeah.
At home, 4 goals in the first half, very similar to this Brentford,
Yep.
scenario, and then the fifth coming in the second half. I don't know if we can expect exactly the same thing. Right now, I'm almost expecting more goals. I'm almost expecting Liverpool to just completely have their way with them, because not only do they have the effort that they're putting in and week out, as we all see, but the talent extends far beyond the capabilities of Brentford, right? So I don't know. I think it's dude, there's just it's crazy how far we've gone with this club in like 2 to 3 years time. How we've gone from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer having, the United faithful optimistic about his season coming off of a second place finish to now this, I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's so far fetched to say I feel like this club could even be winless in the first 4 or 5 matches of a season. Could be on a path for relegation. Could be on a path for a bottom of the table finish. I don't know. It's a scary thought if you're a
Yeah.
United fan. I think we'll see what happens. But if there's another thrashing at Liverpool and the players start giving up again, even after a tough week by their new manager Ten Hag, I just don't know where we go. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. Moving on. Barcelona, jumping over to La Liga again, another high-profile club. Big weekend for La Liga. They kicked off. Barcelona specifically kicked off against Rayo Vallecano. And I think for those who aren't as familiar with the landscape of La Liga, where Rayo really sit in, not the biggest team in the world by any means, but I think that coming from the town they come from in Spain, the passion that their fans bring to the table, and what they did last season, right? Just if you guys didn't realize, they upset Barcelona really kind of both legs of last season. They had a Final Four finish in the Copa del Rey, and they stayed in the league as a very small team. And so, all in all, I think more than poised to upset a few teams this coming season. But all in all, I think fans, pundits, everyone alike are kind of freaking out at the fact that Barcelona signed all these big name stars and open up their account of the season with a draw 0-0. Look, I have my own takes on this. Being a Barcelona fan, I think that I'm probably a little more optimistic than most people out there right now. But let's start with the Madridista, the average take extraordinaire, Andre. How do you feel about Barca? I'm sure you caught the game. Was it? I don't know. Is this if you're just biased, not looking at in general, whether you support Barcelona, Real Madrid, or anybody in between? Was this scoreline pretty fair? It was, I think, 21 shots to 4 in favor of Barcelona. Just could not find the back of the net. Is this freak out mode, or is that just a blatant overreaction?
I think it's an overreaction, man. Look, when you have that much dominance over a team, especially at home, right, with all those new signings, goals are going to come, right? I mean, we saw it in the preseason. I think coming from that 6-0 thrashing of Pumas, players were riding high, confidence is high. And then you encounter a team like Rayo who know how to play against teams like Barcelona, who have shown it previously that they can go to Camp Nou and not be scared. It's just a fluke. It's one of those fluke games. Thankfully for you guys, it's the first game of the season. You get it out of the way, you take your learnings, and then hopefully you can find the back of the net. As of Madridista, it was freaking great to see, right? You guys dropping points already at the beginning of the season. But if I'm a Barca fan, I don't freak out. I'm like you. Let's not overreact here.
Yeah, definitely not. Alina, I mean, I'm sure you caught a little bit of the game. I mean, it wasn't anything crazy, but I don't know. Maybe whether it's from Barca's side or Rayo's side, any cool takeaways?
No, I think the media is overreacting a little bit, but at the same time, it's their job, right? Like they have to say something in the paper to get the people reading it, so it doesn't make sense. But it's the first day of the first game, I should say, of La Liga, and it's not like they're getting trashed like United style 4-0. They did okay, they tried, it just wasn't their week.
Yeah.
That's my take on it, at least. I don't think it's anything concerning. Now, if they keep dropping unnecessary points like that, then maybe we could say, yeah, like there's a problem here. They're not clinical enough.
Hmm.
They're not focusing. But for now, it's it's the first month of every season is kind of, you gotta get your foot ready and just kind of get used to the new players around you or those who left and all
Yeah.
that good stuff. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm not
And,
that concerned for them.
and it's like a brand new team. That's another thing too, right? Is that
Yeah.
like I think at the end of the day, we didn't have any kind of attacking firepower last year. I mean, we basically ran behind Memphis Depay, and we're hoping for the best, and I think that if you remember last year, and we saw all the ups and downs, the roller coaster that was Barcelona last season. They started, and just for context, right? They started on a huge high, 4-1 win at Sociedad. And it was a game that maybe caused a lot of fans to overreact in the opposite direction, right? Almost too much optimism, and thinking that we weren't going to skip a beat, even in a year where we were quote unquote rebuilding. I think my take as a tried and true fan, look, I'm definitely not overreacting. It is what it is. We've been here before. The best teams in the world always drop points. I mean, do we look at Liverpool last week and say, oh, they're not going to be in the fight at the end of the season because they dropped points to Fulham in week 1? No, I mean, it happens, right? You're coming back from vacation, you're coming back from a preseason, maybe you were traveling, and there's a lot to really kind of work through with your team. New players, new formations, new tactics. I will say, critically though, Barca was too fucking slow, just too slow. They didn't have sting in the midfield when it came to how fast they moved the ball or how their combinations worked through and broke down defense. I think that they were kind of predictable, and what really kind of led them to those 21 shots they had in total was just individual skill.
Mm-hmm.
It was reliant on how good our talent actually is versus a system that promotes that talent. And so, that's the one critique I will have is, damn, you guys got to move the ball faster. Like, it's just too predictable. But when they figure that out, when they get their pacing right and they're able to find the outlets that we have in Rafinha and Dembele and Lewandowski, I think that then obviously the goals come. And at that point, I think we're putting all of this, these week 1 jitters behind us. And in terms of individual performances, I don't know Andre, how you felt about your boy, Rafinha, but he looked nervous.
Yeah.
It looked like it's hard to get off the mark, man. He was trying really, really hard to score, trying really hard to be that guy, right? The next, Brazilian star for Barcelona. And it looked and felt like that. It looked like he was just trying a little too hard. I don't know. How'd you feel about his performance?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right in the head. I think he's also riding high from that goal he scored against Madrid in El Clasico in preseason, right? And so he holds himself at a high standard. And look, as a Leeds fan, I've seen him play for the last 2-3 years with us before he moved to Barca, and that was it. He was the guy. And so I think he wants to keep playing that way. First game jitters, it's perfectly normal. But to your point, I think he needs to, instead of putting that much pressure on himself to be the guy, he needs to play his game, man. And the simplest thing, the way that I noticed it is transitions. When you lose the ball, what do you do first? Do you press the ball? Do you let your outside back come up and press the ball? He just wasn't doing it, right? And I think all he wanted is to get the ball in the final third, mega guy, and then score a screamer. And that's just not going to happen. It's going to take time. So to your point, he was a little bit nervous. He put a lot of pressure on himself, I'm pretty sure. And after looking at film, I'm sure he's going to clean it up. But what I wanted to ask you though is, what did you think about the starting 11 for Barca?
I think it's going to be our starting 11, if we're being honest. And that actually, it probably says more about guys like Frankie than it does anybody else. To see, I can imagine what he feels being in the prime of his career, a high-profile player, and to see, young academy product Gavi kind of work his way into the lineup. And it's just very evident that Frankie isn't a priority for Xavi. I think they're going to find if there is a team that's going to get him this summer, it's going to be Chelsea. Whether that actually happens or not, we'll see. I mean, I don't know, but it's definitely not going to be United if he leaves. There's no way he's joining that train wreck.
Yeah.
But and on top of that, I think it's pretty spot on. It sucks too for guys like Ferran, right, who came from Man City last year. Probably felt like they had a pretty notable place in the lineup, and then you see guys like Rafinha get signed. You see Usman extend his contract, and that speed on the outside, it can't be played down at all. Like it's fucking real. I mean, I don't know what we do. We almost have too many attackers.
Yeah.
But I think that the most notable piece of it was Frankie being out, and I do think we see more of that. And equally, our back line is not as sure as it could be. I think those are where the biggest holes are in the team, from my perspective. Is Koundé needs to get in there. I don't know how I feel about Araujo playing right back. I like him better as a center back, and maybe having Sergio Roberto or Sergio Dest, and that just sounds shitty to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we're not done in the window. Things will shape up, but from a midfield forward looking, that's probably spot on in terms of what we can expect, at least for the bigger games. There's a ton of season where a lot of the younger talent will work their way into. So we'll see, man. We'll definitely see. Moving on, though. Bayern, over to the Bundesliga now. Bayern making light work of Wolfsburg, cruising past them 2-0. Again, I think we're going to see a lot of it this season. I'm not sure how much of the game you guys actually caught, but it was very straightforward. Muller was heavily involved in the attack. Sadio Mane was doing his thing. All in all, it's going to be tough, I think, for any team to really contend with them in the Bundesliga. I think Dortmund had a pretty nice weekend as well, but ultimately, I think we're going to see more of these types of score lines: 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, and Bayern will continue to be Bayern. Alina, anything you saw there that made you feel, I don't know, really solid about their performance or not?
I think it was a very predictable first couple games from them here, and I mean I think they've made great changes with the likes of De Ligt and Mane, and I don't know if they've signed anyone else that I'm not aware of, but they've gotten about, I would say, at least 30% better than they were last season. And if you compare them to the last few seasons, they've also almost cruised through their league. So I expect nothing less this time, right? Like, unless Dortmund or someone else actually have a little more depth like Bayern do, or at least maybe like a match by match kind of like starting lineup. I don't know. I think it's easy to predict how the league is going to end already, which sucks, but it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Predictable as hell. Andre, anything else?
No, that's it. I think you take Holland out of Bundesliga, and you look at Dortmund as kind of the one team that could potentially do something to disrupt Bayern's dominance. But at this point, I mean, maybe Werner back at Leipzig, maybe they're the ones who step up. I mean, the fact that Nkunku's still there, that baffles me. But they're going to run away with it. And I don't know if you guys have, this is kind of off topic, but I don't know if you guys have seen, I know you have, Joey, the Arsenal All or Nothing. When at the very beginning, the first opening scene, it literally is about how like teams are so dominant in every league, right? And like Bayern being, how many have they won? Like 9 out of the last 10 or some shit like that.
Something stupid, yeah.
So it's like,
it's not even entertaining anymore.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it. I think with the talent, like Alina said, that they got with Sadio Mane and just all the guys stepping up with Lewandowski being gone, they're still going to run with it. They're going to run the table.
I think so too. I mean, short and sweet. I love it. I think Bayern. Look, we'll keep talking about them. I think that they're such a big club. You have to. But at the end of the day, not too worried about them. But keeping in line with the Bundesliga, and you mentioned Timo Werner. Timo's back. He got his goal. I actually kind of. If you saw the goal, it kind of is what it is. It's not like the craziest goal you've ever seen. Another very De Gea-like save from the keeper at Cologne. But all in all, it really wasn't enough. And there was obviously a red card that affected, their ability to get past the draw. But, the 2-2 draw at Cologne, again, Leipzig starting out with 2 draws to kind of kick off the season, not what they're looking to do. I think that's why Timo was brought back in, right? Have more attacking reinforcements, but he gets a goal on his debut back in what he probably considers to be home. I'm hoping they could really, again, we talked about how dominant Bayern is, how they can really push along with Dortmund, push Bayern as much as they possibly can to take the Bundesliga title. I don't know how realistic that really is, but there was a time. Right. There was a time when Leipzig had more than enough to say prior to all their young stars kind of, leaving and foraying over to bigger clubs. Alina, I'm not sure you caught the game, but look, I mean, Leipzig looks like they'll be able to do some things with Timo. I think his speed and his ability to finish when he's confident is something that is noteworthy here. But anything in that game that caught your eye?
Honestly, I'm just really happy for Werner that he's kind of like finding the net, and he seems just much happier too. Just back home.
Doesn't
But
miss Tuchel.
yeah, I think in terms of whether they can catch up with Bayern or like play like Bayern, I don't think it's possible
Hmm.
because they just lack the depth, right? And I think when a team does not have the depth, you're not going to be able to stay as consistent. And that's going to be the problem. Like they might have a good like mid-season, beginning of the season or late season, but they're going to have those kind of setbacks because of that lack of depth. And when you have teams like Bayern, I don't know, subbing Sane, I don't know who they have on
It
their
could be
bench.
Musiala. It could be Sane.
Yeah,
It could be
anyone
like
exactly.
Gnabry. Yeah.
Yeah, they have so
Yes,
much depth. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just crazy to think about. It's impossible for a team that already does not have the best starting lineup to compete with a team that's like Bayern B. I think would be able to win Bundesliga.
Wow, that's saying something. And
Yeah.
look, I will say too. I mean, you're right. But Bayern. I don't know about the Bayern B thing. That's a hell of a stretch. But I really do think that that Bayern. I mean, hopefully this move with Timo like helps Leipzig a little bit. I think going to the Premier League gives Timo experience, which
Yeah.
Leipzig need drastically. Not only do Bayern have more talent and depth, like Alina mentioned, but on top of that, they're just experienced. They have players who have been there before, who know what it's like to pace themselves for an entire season, to know what it's like to go through the dog days of winter. Not to mention, we have a World Cup coming right in
Hmm.
in the winter, and so you're pacing yourself for that, and then post tournament, you have to get right back into the nitty gritty of finishing the season out and make sure you're closing well. And then on top of that, right, Andre, I don't know how you feel about this, but there's still those rumors out there. They still may go out. Bayern may go out and get Conrad Leimer
Hmm.
from Leipzig, and as much experience they've added with Timo, maybe maybe they're giving some right back out and putting out into the market. I mean, does Leipzig need more signings? Is Timo enough? How do you feel?
I don't think he's enough. I think, what Alina said is really important because right now we're saying, okay, potentially they could disrupt a little bit of what Bayern's doing and they could make a run. Sure, if everybody stays healthy. If Timo gets hurt, if Nkunku gets hurt, what do they do? Like,
Yeah,
who's going to come up, a 16, 17-year-old from the academy? They're just not going to have the firepower, right? If Mane gets hurt, you got Nabri, you got, your boy
It's crazy,
Sane.
man.
Like, it's just, they have so much depth, and I think that's what it comes down to, especially in a league like that, right? When if you were talking about, like, for example, Man City and one of their pivotal players, De Bruyne, getting hurt or whatever it is, sure, they have another player that can step up, but other teams like Brentford could make a run, right? Like, there's teams out there. Every game is tough in the EPL, is my point. Whereas in the
Yep.
Bundesliga, I think you look at the table and you're like, all right, Bayern's going to win 10 in a row. They may draw. They're going to win 10 more in a row. Like, it's just, it's very predictable. And so, yeah, I think if Leipzig were to make a run, they need maybe one or two more signings. They need to retain the talent, and then also they need to stay healthy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll agree with you, man. It's kind of crazy that they still have Nkunku.
Yeah.
Like I was banking on that guy to be in the EPL or,
Mhm.
or, or even just a more high profile club.
Yep.
But nonetheless, right? I mean, he's still there and he's still working. So we definitely shall see. All right, moving on. And to me, the spiciness of the weekend, man, I loved it. I love this shit. Battle of the Bridge. I think it was, man, what a great way to conclude the Prem weekend. That probably the most high profile match and fixture of the weekend for the Prem anyway. But when you think about the Battle of the Bridge and everything, the storied history of Chelsea, the storied history of Tottenham, and most importantly, between the two managers, Antonio Conte having history at Chelsea. Not only did this game not disappoint from a football perspective, you had chances galore on both sides. You had a very close, gritty, and highly controversial because of various calls that were missed or whatever it may be, 2-2 draw. But then at the end, tempers flare, and managers definitely took it personally. And I loved every fucking bit of it. So I'll start with Andre here first to work over to Alina. I'm really kind of curious, Andre. How do you feel about let's leave the manager drama aside because I got my own take for that. I
Yeah.
have my own feelings for Conte and Tuchel too. I think Tuchel's great, but there's a lot to just unpack with that by itself. Let's start with just the game, just the essence of the 2-2. I think maybe some out there are saying that Tottenham was somewhat kind of lucky to walk away with the 2-2, especially considering how many chances Chelsea had.
Mhm.
They kind of squandered a lot of those. maybe it instills the need for an actual out and out striker that they have to go out and get in the market. Who knows? But all in all, 2-2, was that fair?
Oh, that's a good question. I hate that question, by the way, Joey. Thanks for doing that to me. Was it fair? Nothing in life is fair. No,
Nothing in life is fair.
I think overall, the way that what I took away out of the match is it kind of felt like a feature film. Like it didn't even feel like a soccer game. It honestly was like going through, like a whole cinematic experience of like getting to the climax, and then all of a sudden, and then Kane's goal in the last minute, and then the manager shit. Like, dude, it literally was like a roller coaster of emotions. I can't imagine being a Chelsea or a Spurs fan, by the way, watching this game. Mainly Chelsea, because I think going back to your point, Chelsea could have put it away. If it's 3-0, oof, it's over. Right. And so I think Chelsea had it all in their hands. They had it in their power. I think if I'm a player in that locker room, you leave feeling like you lost that game, really. And if you're on the flip side, if you're a Spurs player, I know Kane tweeted about it, an hour after the match, but he's like super proud of the team. Like, this feels like a dub, like way to take back a point. And it's like, you can totally see how both teams felt like one of them, took away from the other, and then the other one just didn't capitalize. So as a player, dude, if I'm a Chelsea player, I'd be shaking my head and just saying, guys, we fucking gave up 2 points, man. They should have run away with it. Yeah,
it really was. Alina, how do you feel? I mean, I know you were super big on Spurs finishing. What did we say? Top two
last week.
I'm not let you forget that either. Top two.
Love that.
And we all had Chelsea finishing maybe top 6.
Yeah.
Does yesterday change anything for you?
Well, I think I would start by highlighting Koulibaly, my boy.
Yeah.
I think you guys were like, oh, Chelsea have done worse after losing Rudiger. I'm like, don't sleep on Koulibaly. He's
It's true. You did say that.
The guy scores a volley, perfect pinpoint volley. It was amazing to see, honestly. I was happy for him.
Yeah.
Like, I hate Napoli as a team, but I've always been a fan of Koulibaly. I remember his own goal against Juve. I think it was like 3 seasons ago. I think it was like the 89th minute. He scored a beautiful own goal, and then Juve picked up the points. Going back to the point, I loved that game. It was super entertaining. That was one of the games where I was watching it in the background, and then I had my homework. And then it was so fun that it got to the point where my homework was in the background and the game was what I was focusing on.
Rightfully so.
Love it.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think I really thought Spurs did really well. I was impressed, and I do think that Chelsea created a lot more, and they edged a little over to deserving to win. But at the same point, we have to understand that football is not about who creates the most chances or who plays the most beautiful football. Like we saw with Madrid, right? Like I feel like City created so many chances and then Madrid punished them. And Madrid were more conservative, staying back, all that good stuff. And then they were able to do their magic. So I think the media is looking at it as oh, Chelsea deserved to win. Spurs didn't do anything. They got lucky. And don't get me wrong. I think at least the second goal, where I don't know who it was, but someone's hair got pulled in the corner.
Right?
Yeah, and I don't know what VAR were doing, right? I don't know if anyone was at VAR. I don't know why that goal wasn't canceled.
Yeah.
But I think setting that aside, I think Spurs deserved to get at least a point.
Yeah, I mean, barring the fact that whoever was on VAR responsibilities or had the VAR shift for that specific game between Chelsea and Spurs was either on a coffee break or dropping a news, but either way, yeah, I mean that alone, right? Like the pulling of the hair of Cucurella, I don't know how he didn't get up and I don't know, swing. I don't know. Just for me, that's some and Andre, maybe it's because we're tapping too much into our old player backgrounds, but
sure.
I don't know. I feel like that it warrants a reaction. That's all that I'll say to that. It very much does. I don't care how long my hair is. Nobody's pulling that back like that.
Yeah.
But VAR should catch it. Otherwise, why the hell do we have it? Why did we endure 2 years of these growing pains of VAR trying to understand what it should call, what it shouldn't, how it should be utilized in games properly? What the hell's the point for what?
Yeah.
And Tuchel, I think, had a lot to say about that specifically. In the post game. I think for me, Alina, you're 100% right. As a Barcelona fan, we know that more than most. Doesn't matter how much possession you have. Doesn't matter how much beautiful football you play. You have to score goals. You have to put it back of the net. With that said, if we're basing it off of the football they play, I just don't know how anybody can be a Spurs fan. But But like putting that aside, Chelsea, I'm not a Chelsea fan at all. I'm Arsenal through and through. I honestly can't stand either team, so I was very much a neutral. But I think Chelsea played the ball especially in the first half very well. I loved their passing; it was crisp. They created so many opportunities from it. But damn, they couldn't finish. Kai Havertz had two extremely blatant opportunities to put the ball and the game away. Did not take it. I wouldn't go as far as saying this team misses Lukaku, but they definitely miss having an out and out striker up in front, because just someone who could take those easy opportunities, easy, right? The ones that come in front and just need a true clinical striker to put it away. I do believe Chelsea was the better team. I think Spurs got the result they wanted, that they needed, to continue, moving forward and keeping in the top 4 race. Which I think that, despite my hate for Spurs, they will probably be in that top 4 when the season's all said and done. But putting the game aside, we saw all of that drama, all of those issues, which again, I think if you didn't watch the game, the 2 big missed calls from my perspective, I think most people's perspective, was the hair pull for Kukurea and then the Betancourt tackle.
Yeah.
On, I can't remember who exactly might have had the ball. Was it? No, it wasn't Conte.
No. I know what you're talking about.
It was Kai Havertz. It was Kai Havertz.
Yes.
And they had, I thought was blatantly a foul. He slid from behind, and even if he nudged the ball slightly, I mean, it was just a tackle where he got all of Havertz. I thought, and that led to a 45-second build-up play, which ultimately transitioned to a goal. So ultimately, I think Spurs were lucky to not get those calls. Chelsea was unlucky to not get those calls. But I think the result is fair, because Chelsea should have put the game away a long time ago.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been up to the refs. They should have just, flat out won the game 4-2, 5-2, whatever it should have been. Putting that aside, though, Battle at the Bridge never ceases to fail in terms of drama, entertainment. We saw a little bit of it in the actual game, sort of a petty kind of bust up between Tuchel and Conte. It going so far during the actual game that when Chelsea went up 2-1, Tuchel sprinted across the sideline directly in front of Conte. And then that led to, the post-game interaction between the two, where Tuchel sort of demands Conte to look him in the eye when he shakes his hand. And God, I love that, man. Yeah. I'm all in for that. That is the energy most matches need, period. I think it sells fans, it sells storylines. And trust me, when Spurs and Chelsea play again second half of the season, they're locked in. They're locked in. Let's start with Alina here. Between Tuchel and Conte, put the game aside. Between those 2 managers, are either one of them wrong? I mean, like, or is that just fair play to both sides?
Well, I think it all started when Conte celebrated, I think, a little too close to the Chelsea, like sub bench. So I don't think he should do that, right? Like, I don't think that's like a respectful thing. It's great for the fans and it's great for banter. But I think as a professional, as a coach, and especially as someone who's coached Chelsea before, not only coached them, but he's won the Premier League before with them in his first season. I don't think that's the best thing to do, but I mean, I love the guy. I love his energy. He's always like that. It doesn't matter who he's playing against. He's always going to be celebrating and jumping up, and he's just very, very, very. He's very motivated, and he has a lot of passion. I would say towards the end, I don't know. I feel like both of them are at the wrong. Like, when you shake at the end, when you shake someone's hand, you gotta look them in the eye as a coach. But I think Tuchel also overreacted a little bit and made it, because I don't know, like that's why he got the red card. That's why he's not going to be on the bench next week. I think both of them got red cards.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. So I understand earlier, like, what happened with them, and I don't think it should have happened in terms of like how they celebrated. But at the end, I think that whole thing could have also been avoided.
Yeah. Andre, I mean, I think it could have been avoided. I'm really glad that it wasn't.
Oh yeah, me too. I want to make that clear. I know I said like it's a professional should have happened, but yeah, that's the stuff we want to see.
Hell yeah, I'm locked in for that. Andre, when you were watching it, man, did you take anybody's side where you're like, hey, Tuchel's a little more right, Conte's a little more right? How'd you feel?
No, man, I was amped, especially because I used to coach as well, and so that like brought me back to those days of like when you're fired up and you're showing passion for the game. Period. let sparks fly, man. Screw it. Nobody punch anybody. Like, just people getting each other's face, and that's it. To answer your question, was anybody wrong? I think they both were, right? Like, I think to Alina's point, you don't celebrate like that, especially at a field where you were the coach of that club, number one. And then number two, the Tuchel thing, just let it go, man. Like, shake his hand, give him a high five, whatever, and off you go. I mean, look at Klopp and Guardiola. I always bring it back to that. Like, that is probably the most intense rivalry that the EPL has had in the last 2.5 years, 3 years or so. And those guys, are respectful towards each other. They are very passionate about their clubs, but they just shake their hands. They say, GG's, fair game, off we go, So, look, from a fan standpoint and even from a neutral, right? Like, yeah, man, this is awesome. We want the drama. We want to see this shit on the field. So, yeah, that was fun to watch. But from a coach's standpoint, maybe, keep your cool a little bit.
yeah, definitely keep your cool a little bit. Only because I only say that because of the next game, right? You need your manager for every
That's
match
the biggest
in
thing.
the earliest days. Yeah, let your team get into a rhythm, and you definitely want your manager to be there. With that said, just my take really quick. I just can't fucking stand Conte. I just can't. I don't like Tuchel either. I mean, from a standpoint of a fan. Because
why don't you like Conte?
Okay, for a lot of reasons, but if we're looking solely at recent performances, he wants so badly to be the new Mourinho. He so badly wants to be Jose Mourinho. He has a great winning record. I respect the hell out of it. I think serial winners need to have that wherever they go, regardless. Mm-hmm. But there's also a layer to people management and to leadership that he doesn't have, in my opinion. I look at guys like Carlo Ancelotti as much as I don't like Madrid, I think he is the perfect coach for them. He knows how to manage big personalities, knows how to get the best out of seasoned veterans, and most importantly, will always go to bat for them. I remember last year at this time, or not this time, but when Conte first took over, when he was throwing new transfers under the bus, his own team under the bus, didn't really, was saying that these weren't the players he asked for or as many signings as he would have liked. He found every way to scapegoat other people outside of him. I think he did a lot of that same thing now with Tuchel. Is that, he's the one showing aggression, so I have to show aggression back, and this and that. And it's like, no, I mean, just admit it. You're kind of a fucking douche, and you got checked by Tuchel on the sideline, and that's really what it is. Anybody who comes into my manager box and starts celebrating their goal, doesn't really have respect for me as a coach or my club or maybe even the game. I mean, I don't know. Like that. That's how I feel about it, and I would have had the exact same reaction. I would have pushed you out of my box. I would have had some words to say. And yeah, when my team scored, I would have gone past running. I would have slid in front of that dugout, like full Mourinho, full Mourinho. Like I would have been locked in. Yeah, bro. I mean, I it would have been everything because I don't know. I think that there's a certain layer of respect that comes along with being a part of this game at a high level, and I feel like for him, it's about him. Yeah. And nothing else really matters. Tottenham is not even a club I think that he would most typically go for. It was a Prem job that was available at the time. And he made sure everybody kind of knew that. So I don't know. I think I'm not saying the jury's out on Conte. He could change my mind, I guess, over the course of the season. Will his team be better this season? Yeah. But it came through a ton of growing pains that I just thought shouldn't be stemming from a manager. They need to be stemming from things like media or other external forces that are dividing your team, not you, not the manager. The manager shouldn't be a reason that there's a divided team in the locker room. So
Can I give my 2 cents quickly on Conte?
Absolutely. Go for it.
I think he's always been like that, even as a player with Juve. He's always had that kind of like level of like intense passion and like screaming, and he just loves his job, whether that's as a player or as a coach. So I think that's where his passion comes from. I don't think he's trying to be anyone else. And I mean, if he is trying to be Jose Mourinho, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm just gonna kind of like go over. Conte is like probably my second favorite coach after Ancelotti. So I feel like I had to defend him here, but he took over a Juve that got relegated in 2006, and then they had a few seasons, very mediocre seasons where they finished 8th, 7th, 9th, stuff like that. He took them to his first season with them, and he stayed for 3 years, and then Allegri took over, and the rest is history. After his spell, he went to Chelsea. He won right away with them as well, and that's not an easy thing to do. And then he took over a completely dead Euro 2016 Italy side with freaking Pele and I don't know who the other guy was,
Simone
Zaza.
Zaza, yeah.
Yeah, these were his strikers, and they almost beat Germany, who at that time they were an amazing team. So the guy can do miracles as a coach. He's amazing. So I just wanted to give him credit on that, and now he's doing
Love it.
great too with Spurs. I mean, he has some good players. I think he I think he's made some smart decisions when he goes up to the media and says what he has to say. That's because he needs the club he's working with to push, and they have to spend, and that's the reason why he left Juve. That's the reason why he left Inter's because they did not want to listen to him. They did not want to spend the budget where he wanted.
Yeah.
And I think he almost left Spurs last season for the same reason, and then they kind of bought him Bentancur. They bought him Kulusevski, and I think they also just got a new left back who's on loan at Udinese, but I think it's Udoji.
Adoji, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he has like 9 assists. He's an incredible left back.
Yeah. I thought that was a good signing, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, just quickly my 2 cents. I think he is a very good coach, and I do think he has a reason.
I do too. Like I said, I'm not gonna doubt his credentials. He's been where he's been because it's effective, it works. But when I hear him say in an interview, "Oh, I never come at the refs. I never, I never blame the refs' calls in our post game interviews." Yes, you do. I could go find so many VODs and clips, bro. Come on, don't bullshit a bullshitter like that. I just don't. I don't. I don't know. For that reason, I say new Mourinho because Mourinho does the same stuff. He'll do what he can to toy with the media to get that clickbaity kind of reaction and response. And I mean, like I said, I've always being a Barca fan and having him at Madrid at one point. There was one point where I couldn't stand Mourinho either, right? Where I was just like, dude, everything he says is to troll us.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I think Conte is a little bit. Like he wants to be that way with his rivals. And, I think he's going to have a lot of fans that love him and even more that hate him. So, all part of the gig. All right, one more really quick headline before jumping to quick hits. Lukaku, my man's back, left Chelsea and said, look, I still know how to score goals. He is back on his return to Inter. They grabbed the late win, and he's back on the score sheet. Alina, you're the Serie A enthusiast, fanatic,
expert,
kind of everything in between, expert. Do you think this Lukaku paired up with his old boy, right? I mean, at the end of the day, not just his old team in general, are they back in Scudetto conversations, or are we saying, hey, this Inter Milan is scary, AC Milan needs to watch out?
Man, the guy was 2 inches away from the goal. If he didn't finish that in, then I think we would have more to talk about. But to give him credit, right? He is a good striker. He's a really good striker. He's gonna bag them, I think, 20 goals easily. And one of the main things is that he's happy where he is now, and I think that's what the most important thing. Like if you're at a club, even if they're the best club in the world, you're not happy, you're not gonna perform, regardless of like how good the players around you are. And I think another good thing for him is Lautaro, because when Lautaro and Lukaku played together last time, they were the most prolific striking duo for about half a season until they kind of like got wrecked. I would say not even lost. They got wrecked in the Champions League their first season back. And obviously we know that they won Serie A, but that was an amazing season for both of them, and I think that's like where a lot of his work is going to come in, with just them being like really complementary of each other. But yeah, I think it's good for him. Again, I don't like it wasn't like an amazing goal. It was just in front of the goal, and all he had to do was head it in. So I don't want to
same. They all
give
count
him
the same.
too much credit.
Yeah. Look, I just think having Lauta around him is always a good thing. I think they work well together. Very different profile of players. And Andre, I think we both kind of rate Lauta highly. And I think
I love Lautaro.
Yeah, he's such a good player.
You wanted him at Barca for so long.
I really did. I still want him, but like I want him more at Arsenal. But like now, I think that with Gabriel Jesus there, it obviously makes
it's gonna be tough.
But with Lauta, I mean, like I think he does a lot for Lukaku's game and will help revive Lukaku's career in a really big way. Anything from that Inter match that really stood out to you, Andre? I know you're a big fan.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge Inter fan for sure. I think the biggest piece that I take away is confidence. He felt comfortable, right? He looks different when he's wearing an Inter shirt. I don't know if he feels more at home, the players around him, the locker room, whatever it might be. I think he couldn't find that at Chelsea. And, as a team overall, I mean, I think Inter are going to be pushing, but the real ones to look for is AC Milan. I think this year they've showed, in preseason and obviously with the first game of the season, that they're going to be the team to beat. It's going to be a great Derby della Madonnina. That's all I'll say. I cannot wait for that first Inter Milan game. But as an Inter fan, it's exciting to see your number 9 scoring goals, whether it's a tap in or a screamer. I think Alina's right. I think he's going to score at least 20 goals for Inter. So yeah, it's exciting to see him on the score sheet and also gaining that confidence back that he lost at Chelsea.
Yeah, I agree, man. 100%. I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see how the season develops. But I'm hoping that it just creates a hell of a title race in the Serie A. Again, we'll definitely see. Now, moving on to quick hits. Guys, if you are familiar with quick hits and how we do this, we have a handful of storylines that we kind of go through. I'm going to ask either Alina or Andre how they feel about a specific storyline. And again, these are just really quick hits from the weekend. Should take longer than 15 to 30 seconds to quickly recap each one of these points. And then we're moving on to spicy takes. So really quick, let's start with Alina. Again, the Serie A expert. Champions Milan get right back into it. A 4-goal thumping of Udinese. And they kick off the season hot and fast. How are the champions looking, Alina?
Man, I think Pioli's still on fire from last season for sure. And I think that's like one of the Milan crowd chants, like, "Oh, Pioli is on fire."
Yeah, it's a great one. I love that one.
Yeah. But I thought the game was great. Theo again. Theo is my favorite left back in the world. I would do anything for Juve to sign that guy, but I
both
think
know it's not going to happen. Yeah.
It's not going to happen. There's no way it's going to happen.
Don't do me like that. We let him go.
Oh my gosh, he
so
scored
good.
a penalty, which is great for him. He's known to just drive forward, attack, and get a lot of goals for left back for sure.
Yeah,
and he looked amazing too defensively. He stopped a lot of those attacks from that side. They kind of looked a little shaky in terms of like aerial duels because these were like the 2 goals that they conceded were off crosses and stuff like that. But no, their attack was great. And I think one thing that they have going for them is that first game is they didn't really start any of the new faces, which I think is like one of the most important things you could do. And I think Barca should have done the same thing, actually, for their La Liga, and then kind of like sub in those new faces just to kind of have that continuity with your coach. And he kind of did that, and he got the goals, and then he kind of eased in Origi. He eased in who else? I think who was it? I think they had another midfielder too, but Charles de Keller or something like that.
Catalari,
that guy is amazing.
Yeah,
he's amazing.
He was blowing up at Bruges last season.
I think he was.
In Champions League, it was probably most evident.
That's where people knew his name. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And the Liverpool guy, I think it's Origi or something like that.
Origi,
Origi, yeah. He did fine too. He's a little rusty, but Charles, I'm gonna just call him DK because his name is very long. I'm not sure how to pronounce it yet, but he's definitely like my Serie A player to watch of this season.
Love it. Moving on. Now over to MLS, by the way. Heading over to the ATL game. Atlanta was able to rescue a point against Cincinnati. That really wasn't the headline, though, I think, for most fans of U.S. soccer as a whole. Andrew Gutman, who scored a screamer against the Seattle Sounders the week before. Complete banger to end the game. Scores the 20,000th goal in MLS history. A huge milestone. There's so many leagues, and even here on this side of the world where that haven't taken off and even gotten to that point where we can say 20,000 goals have been scored. Huge milestone for the game, and I really kind of wanted to touch on that, Andre, really fast. The league's growing, and we're going to see more expansion teams. We're going to see this game continue to grow on this side of the world. How do you feel about the landmark?
I love it, man. It's what we need, right? And I think we kind of touched a little bit on it last week in terms of kind of those milestones and not just being that, retirement league, right? That a lot of people call it, being kind of front and center. The other thing that I wanted to bring up, obviously, Gutman's been amazing for Atlanta. I went to a game in Atlanta. My parents live down there, so I was able to go to a match down there. He's like the focal point of that team. So it's awesome that it happened to him or that he was the guy to score that. But did you guys watch the Liga MX against MLS All-Star game last week?
I did. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
And so that's the thing. Like, to me, especially growing up in Mexico, you always thought of MLS as kind of like a second tier league. You're like, oh yeah, like the best league in CONCACAF is obviously the Liga MX. A lot of players from South America, use Liga MX as kind of that jumping board to go to Europe or whatever. And now the MLS is kind of taken over, man. Like, it's great to see that a lot of talent from South America, especially, they're coming at a young age, 16, 17, 18-year-olds from River Boca, from Brazil, are landing it in the MLS. And, it was great to see Vela and Chicharito leading the flank, up top for MLS. So overall, I think it's a great landmark. I think it's a great milestone, and it's only going to help not only the league grow at a global scale, but also the game grow here, which is kind of what we're all trying to do, right? So
yeah, 100%.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's the whole purpose of this show. Yeah, 1,000%. So I like it. I think it's something that we need to celebrate more landmark moments like that, because if we don't, no one else is going to celebrate them. Moving on, Alina, we had a fucking wild game between Austin FC, Sporting Kansas City, 7-goal thriller. Everyone's hometown hero, Sebastian Drusi, got the late time stoppage goal. Alina, did you catch that? That game was actually wild. I think it was. I only caught really like majority of the second half, a little bit of the first, but I'm glad I tuned in. That shit was crazy.
Man, I that was the one thing that I regretted this past week, is not catching that game.
Oh man, it was beyond insane. Wild. And Drusi's quickly becoming that guy. How like every MLS team is kind of trying to pinpoint their hero. Who's that, the hero that we need going to be. Drusi for this expansion team is quickly becoming that name. I mean, MLS All-Star Weekend, his name was everywhere. But on top of that, I'm in Dallas now. I'm not too far from Austin, and I mean the Q2 rings loud, and people are talking about him a lot. And you're seeing other creators out there create content around Drusi. So I think, I don't want to say he's like one for the future, because he's kind of one for right now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that that game itself was just anytime you get 7 goals in a fucking game that's close, I mean, I'm locked in.
Yeah. Anytime you get a 3-goal comeback, you're down 3-1.
Bro,
how many teams would be able to fucking do that, right? Like, to say, fuck it, let's keep pushing. Shows why.
And that's what's good about the league, right? Like, it's always unpredictable. You'll have teams that love attacking. It's fun to watch.
It's open-ended. It's really fun to watch.
Yeah. And actually, what I would like to really see is, because in my city, I live in Michigan, and my city doesn't really have like an MLS team yet. We have one in Detroit.
Yeah.
I think it's like Detroit FC or something like that. But they're in like the second division. They're not an MLS. But oh my gosh, if there were like some plans of like creating like a football stadium where I live, like kind of like near the highway. So like when you drive across the highway, you kind of like see it on.
That's sick.
From afar, but it just kind of crumbled down. And we used to have a team too that wasn't MLS, but it was kind of like local, and they were kind of going up little by little. But yeah, man, I think the bigger the MLS gets, the more likely my city is to get a team going and have a plan for a stadium again. So yeah,
I agree 100%. And look, and just to kind of wrap up this little really short quick hit section, in terms of MLS, I mean, guys, there was so much. LAFC had a drubbing, 5-0. I think I saw a crazy game last night between the Sounders and Real Salt Lake at home in Seattle, where Salt Lake was more than challenging them. FC Dallas got their first win over the Quakes in like literally 6 years. 6 years against that team, and completely, I think Jesus Ferreira completely took over. But these are storylines that you want to continue to see, right? You want to see MLS continue to prove out that it's a league not just for development, that's not just for the retired big name player. It's also a league for entertainment. If you're a footy fan of any kind, you're going to get goals. You're going to get storylines that really kind of push the envelope here. Yeah. So I hope we see more of it. But the week in between, right, with Liga MX and MLS and everything they were doing, it was fantastic to see. I can't wait until we get more rivalries, right? Especially when those two regions come together in a big way in 2023.
Yeah.
So totally. it's gonna be fucking awesome. All right, moving on. Final section of the show, spicy takes. We're gonna do it as quickly as we can here, but equally, there's a lot to kind of talk about, and some of this we've already talked about already, so we're not going to spend too much time on some of these. But I always love the first question that we jump into, which is top four. The top four of the Prem is going to be a competition that never goes away. It's always going to be here. Top four in the Prem after week 2 is as follows: Man City, Arsenal, Brentford. Brentford, and Tottenham. Bro, Brentford's looking good. I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to be in top 4, but the other 3 are probably fairly accurate. I'm waiting to see kind of how Chelsea continues to shape itself in the window and whether they get up an out-and-out number 9 if Alba or somebody else comes in. But look, this is somewhat accurate, way more accurate seeing Bournemouth in the top 4 like we did last week.
Yeah.
But Brentford, 2 weeks in, let's leave the rest of the top 4 alone. We all have our predictions there. Where do you see, if you had to pick a place in the table for Brentford to finish, I'm going to ask each of you this. Where would you see them finishing? And keep in mind, I think they finished 13th last season.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely have them higher than that, even without some of the players they've lost. But with that said, I mean, let's start with Andre. Brentford, is this realistic? And if not, where do you see them fitting in?
I don't think they're going to be the next Leicester City. I'll tell you that much. They're not going to win the fucking league. Ranieri did something. Ranieri did something that's once in a lifetime. But I see them as a Europa Conference League team. So I think I have them 7th or 8th. I think we focus so much on the Man United debacle, right? We focus so much on the Man United dumpster fire that they are. And we completely forgot to talk about how fucking good Brentford were in the first 30 minutes of that game.
That's fair.
So I think that, he's got him playing great football. To your point, all the post-match interviews and the players being like, yeah, we just have to work hard. Like, imagine what that does to a locker room mentally when you know that the guy next to you is going to go 50-50, he's going to go for a tackle, whatever. That's going to carry momentum. I think Brentford finished top 7, top 8.
Love it. Alina, what's your prediction?
Well, since they were 13th last season, I think they can really break top 10. It's hard for me to say that they're going to finish top 8 just because there's just so many good teams.
That's fair. And
I think some of the teams that are not where they should be now, maybe for example United, I do think they will eventually start picking up points. Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't see United bottom 10. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I think United will be lucky, and this is probably a bold fucking statement. I think United will be lucky to finish where Brentford finished last season if they make no more signings.
13th place.
13th place. I think that this team is in fucking shambles.
Yeah.
I know we're talking about top 4 right now. They're nowhere near that discussion. I don't see them finishing in a European place. I think, and even the teams that did finish in the European spots last year, like West Ham hasn't looked extraordinary in the first couple of games either. But no one in the league has looked as bad as United. They just don't know what they're doing. They can't figure it out. Their mental is so down this deep, dark black hole that the minute they get scored on, the entire game plan goes to the wayside and they just give up. I don't think you can be a team in the Premier League that the Prem doesn't let up ever. Every week, every match, every fixture is extremely difficult and tough. At a minimum, even if the players aren't as skillful as your team, they're working extremely hard and more physical than most teams and most leagues. And so I don't know. I think maybe it's a completely out of pocket just left field take. But I just think that if Man U doesn't make any more signings, I think they'll be lucky to finish
bottom of the table.
in the top half of the table.
Yeah,
I think it'll be very, very difficult. Just too much competition. All right, moving on. And for the rest of these spicy takes, again, some of this we've already talked about, so keep it as short and sweet as you'd like. United currently in 20th place, and we'll see what happens with Palace at Liverpool. Currently in 20th place, and we kind of just talked about it, will finish in the bottom half of the table if they fail to make any new signings for the end of the window. I'm in whole agreement with that statement. I don't even think it's a hot take. I think that's just logical. Let's start with Alina. Is that spot on, or do you think that's false?
Man, as I said, I just don't see them finishing bottom 10. I don't.
Is it because of the badge though, or is it because
it is because of the badge? Yeah, because I've seen them season after season where they're having these really terrible seasons, but it's so much better than this season, right? Like, it's just.
The only silver lining is that Arsenal, the frame of reference I'm trying to build up is when has the team ever done this? Started this bad? Arsenal started last season. Yeah.
Lost 3 in a row.
0 points, 3 in the first 3 matches, and 0 goals.
Yeah.
But I will say that when you watch those games, I can't pinpoint where Arsenal gave up.
Yeah.
I can't pinpoint where they just stopped playing. It was simply they were young, didn't have the chemistry. Arteta was figuring that out. It was growing pains, and they were playing against fairly stout
Chelsea
competition.
and City, were two of the first three games.
Two of the first three, yeah. So, but if we had gotten Brighton and Brentford,
yeah,
I don't want to knock those clubs or those teams or the coaches.
You get points out of it.
Obviously had perfect. Well, yeah, but we get points out of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Andre, is it bold to say they finish bottom half of the table if they don't make any more signings?
You fucking hit the nail right on the head. It's a logical statement, dude. I just don't see it. Alina, you're a hopeful romantic. I love it. I think the badge does.
Rabiot is gonna save them, man. I'm telling you. He's gonna get 30 goals.
He's gonna come in with a Superman cape.
Yeah.
Bro, that's the title, and that's the clip for the thumbnail.
Put
of this
the
video.
team on my back.
Yeah.
Love it. If that happens, Alina, I will straight up pay you $100 for that hot take.
How about
like
that?
$1,000.
Oh my
How about
God.
this? If
1,000%.
that happens, Joey and I will split a jersey and we'll buy you a Rabiot
100%.
jersey.
For what? Rabiot getting 30 goals or saving the season?
Saving the
changing it
season
around.
for
Saving the
United.
season.
Changing it around.
What is saving the season? Top 10?
Ooh.
What would you measure saving? What would that
That's
be?
a good
Top
question.
6, top 8,
Ooh.
top 10?
Probably
I would say
top of
top
the
We
table.
eight.
get better right now.
Top of the
eight.
table.
Yeah, okay, fine. Top half of the
Top
table.
half-
We'll
top
say
half.
top half of the table.
So if they
Alright.
finish 10th, deal?
Yeah, I'm
You'll
down.
give me a jersey?
Done.
Yeah, we'll go in on
Alright.
one and we'll get something.
Yeah, absolutely.
But with that
I'm
said,
going to become a United fan now,
I
though.
was going to say.
I need to get a free jersey.
well, good luck. Godspeed
I
as
love
the new United
Yeah.
fan.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Arsenal. Some are going as far as saying that, and some meaning me and my fellow Gooners, we are back after convincingly beating full strength. That's another important piece because they weren't full strength for a lot of last season.
Mhm.
Leicester City. It is Leicester. You know, they are very much Premier League relevant, but they haven't been in the championship form since 2017, right? So, is it bold to say that Arsenal are back? We'll start with Alina.
Man, I don't know. I was just really excited for Jesus to go there, and I thought he did amazing. And he almost had a third goal too,
Yeah.
where he was kind of like he received the ball and he was like towards the back of the defender, and he turned around so flawlessly. I think the goalkeeper saved it. I was fangirling at that point. I would say I'm a big fan of Jesus. He's been close to joining Juve for the past 3 seasons, so that's why I'm really familiar with his style and how he plays, because it's always a name that comes back, like transfer season after not transfer season, transfer market after transfer market,
Mm-hmm.
and it just didn't happen. But yeah, I think they've got a dime, right? I think he's gonna do great for them. He's gonna get those goals and put the pressure, and it's what they've been missing.
Andre, is Arsenal back?
Dude, they've been back, bro.
Yes, sir.
They've been back from last year. I mean, look, Arsenal's always been that one team in the EPL that I don't like. I don't hate. It's Arsenal. You got to respect the name. I think after the Invincibles, right, it became kind of this big, global brand, the Thierry Henry years and all that. But watching that documentary, man, I'm telling you, if I'm an Arsenal fan, I get excited, man. Arteta's the real deal. All the players love him. Tactical genius, obviously learned from Pep. He wore the captain's armband for the club, so there's that connection between. It's kind of like when Zidane came to Real Madrid, right? Like when a former player comes to your club, and Alina, I think you talked about it in a previous episode. Like that just means a lot for the players because they can relate to them.
Yeah.
He's getting the most out of every player, and I think that's important because you guys were the youngest team in the EPL last year, right? And so I think this year with that experience, and then on top of that, you had the Man City signings of Zinchenko and Jesus. You guys have been back, bro. I'll give you that.
I think so too. I think time will tell. I think we went through the growing pains of last season to get to where we are, and we got to fucking hit pedal to the metal now. So I have the highest expectations possible for Arsenal. I think more than most. But I think where we were always kind of a good solid team. Signings like Zinchenko, Jesus, and we can't forget Saliba. Saliba's a fucking monster.
Yeah,
he scored an own goal.
G.
It is what it is, but the guy is just absolutely lights out at the back. I think that we do have very much a European contender on our hands.
Yep.
Even Xhaka is doing well.
Hey, Xhaka looked good.
Like a brand new man.
And what's crazy?
Martinelli?
What's crazy?
Yeah.
Martinelli's looked great, but with Xhaka, it's so great to see the faith from the fans restored, and that connection, because I think you guys remember 2 years ago,
Yeah.
that fell out entirely. Fans were
Yeah.
booing him. He was asking for the hate.
He lost the captaincy. Yeah.
Yeah, lost the captaincy, and even last year, like was almost showing that he didn't want the captaincy, maybe didn't think he deserved it.
Yep.
There was a lot of things going on, but I think that now it seems to be like there's just this new wind of change, and in a very positive way. And as much as everybody wanted to get rid of Arteta, I think that he was very, very much the facilitator of all of it. And I'm so glad that we kept him around. So
totally,
big things ahead. Hopefully, we'll keep fingers crossed. Moving on, and again, staying in line with the Prem. Haaland did not get on the score sheet after, even though Man City completely dominated and blew away Bournemouth, who I think we can all kind of agree that, especially after what we saw this past weekend, that they're probably relegation candidates in a really big way. But are City faithful? Should they be in any way, shape, or form worried that Haaland couldn't get on the score sheet? He had a pretty blatant opportunity to do so. Let's start with Andre.
No, man, it's fucking Haaland. I think the expectations are so high that, like, if your name's not on the score sheet, then, obviously pundits, journalists, and other people external to Man City are going to start freaking out. But if I'm a fan, dude, just having him alone on the starting 11, we've talked about this before. It's the one piece that Pep was missing in that puzzle, right? And so as a striker, yeah, you want to be on the score sheet every single game in and game out, regardless of the competition. I wouldn't freak out, man. He got his brace first match of the season. We have plenty of games left. It's not time to freak out.
Elena, should we bench Haaland and bring in Julian Alvarez?
Yes, bench him, terminate his contract, to get him sent out in winter. No,
add him to Juve.
Yeah, add him to Juve. Yeah, no. I think it's ridiculous that some people are already doubting him because he didn't score in one game, and technically he still has a one goal per game ratio so far, which is good. This is not FIFA.
Yeah.
You're not getting hat tricks every game. This is not how it works. And City are also we have to remember, City did not play with a striker, a real striker, in such a long time. So they're going to take some time to get used to it. And we already know that a lot of their players are more than capable enough of scoring the goals. Yeah. So I think it's almost better for him, right? It's less pressure for him to be the only one having to score. So I see it as a positive that he's not the only one scoring.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Anyone can score, yeah.
Really good point.
Be more happy with the score line. It was legitimately, I stopped watching and I think it stayed 4-0, but just be happy with the fact that your team is absolutely dominating teams in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And also don't forget, be humble. How long has it been since the takeover, right?
Yeah.
08? God, chill out. There are teams that have never seen that kind of money, never seen this kind of coach, these kind of players. Be happy with what you have.
Yeah.
Haaland, the goals will come. Pep will make him a better player. But damn, be patient, man. Hearing City fans talk about this, should we be worried about Haaland? Probably the dumbest concern you could have after week 2.
Yeah.
Anyway, final little spicy take here, and man, it was spicy, and I think it's been going on for a few weeks now. But we'll kind of dig into it really fast before we conclude. We never talk about PSG or Ligue 1 because I think, frankly, Ligue 1 is, what are they calling it? A farmers
league? One horse race, yeah.
One horse race, yeah. I think Ligue 1, doesn't have the talent collectively that PSG has within their one club alone. But with that said, it's maybe a little bit of trouble in paradise, and I think it stems from a lot of the power that guys like Kylian Mbappe have been given recently. But nonetheless, there is a lot of commotion in Paris regarding Kylian Mbappe, Neymar, and how maybe a long-standing falling out or potential feud has translated into things that we're seeing from a negative standpoint on the pitch, not just with the drama itself, but with Mbappe's on-pitch performances. PSG are winning games, and they are winning them very convincingly, but Mbappe isn't standing out the way he has in previous seasons. Let's start with you, Andre. I mean, how do you feel about this? As a player, does this drama, if you're in the locker room, you're not Mbappe or Neymar, but you're just in the team, does this impact a lot of how you guys train, of how you guys come into the tunnel or into the locker room on match day? How much is this really having an impact on the team?
So what I'll say is that overall, if I'm a player that, is in the locker room and I'm practicing with these guys day in, day out, we're traveling, we're doing this, whatever. It's like an Instant Pot that's about to blow up. I don't think we've seen the worst of it. I think what we saw this previous weekend with the whole, hey, I want the ball, give me the ball, I'm going to take the PK, who's going to take the free kicks, blah, 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 blah. You see that in every team. I think it goes beyond that. I think something's going to happen, whether it's, a fight at training, whether somebody, comes out and tweets things, and by that somebody, I mean probably Neymar. Something's going to fucking happen where this shit's going to blow up. I don't think we've seen the end of it. I think it's going to be very interesting to keep an eye on it. But to your point, it is affecting on-pitch performances, not just for Kylian, but for the entire team, right? Like, I don't know what these guys are doing, outside of behind closed doors. Like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on between the two. And, one thing that I mentioned to you guys, before we started taping, but to me, what drew the most attention was that tweet that Kylian just had in that interview when they asked him about the Ballon d'Or. And he literally said, well, I'm the only one on this team who got put on this list. So, yeah, I feel a little bit of pride. It's kind of a dig. Because you've got Messi and Neymar on your fucking team, like, let alone everybody else, who's putting work day in and day out, and they don't obviously get the Ballon d'Or mention. So all in, I think we haven't seen the worst of it, and I can't wait to see where this ends, man. It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be juicy. And I think, let's pivot over to what maybe like the broader PSG leadership team probably thinks. I mean, if this is happening in your locker room, let's just say your new coach, Galtier, I think is how you really say it. Alina, if you're a new manager, you're coming into a club full of giant personalities, the biggest stars on the planet, and then you got arguably a player who could be considered maybe your boss at the same time, and Kylian Mbappe, having some feud and drama with a high profile player like Neymar. Do you consider not putting them in the same lineup together? Does this impact how you strategize week in and week out against your opponents? I mean, maybe it's probably not quite as much pressure because it's Ligue 1, but nonetheless, like, does this change anything for the manager as he thinks about his teams moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's a tough call to make, honestly, because like I study psychology, so anything that is like left untreated, it will resurface. It'll just resurface. It's like impossible unless you work it out 1,000%, not even 100%. You have to work it out 1,000%,
and probably at the worst time too.
Because any like sort of like disagreement or issue they have together, even if they say they worked on it, it can resurface in like any form, right? Like they could be like 2-on-1 with the goalkeeper, and then it's an easy tap in, but one person doesn't pass it to the other. Like, it's just, this is how the mind works. And I don't know, I feel like it's disappointing. I think it's more disappointing on Mbappe's side, to be honest with you guys, because I think Neymar's time has gone. Like, he's 29 now.
Mm-hmm.
I think
he
he's 30.
Hasn't been 30. Yeah. He hasn't been the most fit, I would say, over the last season or so, last couple seasons with PSG. And I think he's still like in that kind of mentality of, hey, I signed with PSG to get away from Messi's shadow. I want to be the star.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just kind of still stuck in that. And I think it's taken a hit on his ego to have a player that's the star more than him.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm not saying that's right. But when you have a player with that kind of belief, and then you have a team that's not believing in you anymore, and that's gonna affect it, right? And I think that's where like a lot of Neymar's issue with Mbappe is coming, is because he's just not a player. He doesn't want to be in a team where he's not the center of attention.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And I think I also will say, though, like, doesn't it seem like Mbappe is kind of being just like a spoiled baby about some of this?
I agree with that.
Yeah. It's just like, look, man, I get it. You had your ego stroked more than a few times in the last few months, right? Like, you've received this giant extension to your contract. PSG have told you, they're literally giving you the keys to the club and saying, look, like, you're going to be the focal point of our entire project. It's all about you. And that's great. And that was coming off of the back of like this tug of war between PSG and Real Madrid for Mbappe, where he was being shown all the attention, all the love. Mm-hmm. And now you have to go back into that team-based environment where, frankly, man, like, if you want the team to win, I get it where you're coming from, but you just don't matter as much as the club. If you want to win, it doesn't matter how big of a personality you are or you have. Nothing's more important than the team. That's what I love about clubs like, I'll point to Real Madrid. I mean, like the fact that they have as many stars, they're literally like Galacticos, and they've always had that brand, but they've been able to have managers to keep them in line, and a hierarchy that is able to get the best out of that talent, at least for the most part. They've had instances in the past where they had so many A-listers that they couldn't make it work, but nonetheless, right? Like you come together as a team to achieve great things, and if you don't, then we see what happens. The individuals take precedent, and nobody achieves anything. So I don't know. I think it's we'll see, but in my opinion, I think he needs to grow the fuck up a little bit and really understand that, like, if PSG wants to do what he thinks they can do, win a Champions League title finally, then go out there and fucking do it. Put your ego aside, put your head down, get to work with what you have, and get the best out of them.
Dude,
that
my
is your
thing
job.
My thing is be fucking thankful, man. Like, what other team, has Messi and Neymar alongside you, right?
Yeah.
Like, instead of taking balls away from them or wanting more goals than them, it's the other way around, man. Create more for the team, and then in turn, you think Messi's not gonna want to give him the ball? Like, dude, that front three is fucking scary. So yeah, to your point, grow up a little bit.
Just grow up, man.
Did you guys see the video of Mbappe like running wide, and then he called for the ball, and he didn't get it, and then he just stopped running?
No, yes. I didn't see that.
That was ridiculous. He was on the left wing running. He was calling for the ball. I don't know who had the ball exactly.
Sure.
Vitinha had the ball.
Yeah. So the Vitinha didn't decided to not go to Mbappe down the wing. Who Mbappe wasn't even that open, by the way. He was open for like an X pass. It's not like he was gonna be 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. But he didn't get the ball, and then he just stopped.
Oh, that's a Ronaldo move right there.
Away. Yeah, but that's the thing with Ronaldo. Ronaldo's like, I think Ronaldo gets mad when he knew he could have scored, or if it was like a tap in. But this shit happened like in the middle of the field.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't
like, bro, come on, man. Grow up. Grow up. It is not all about you, especially if you want to win. Now, if you're just there to collect a check and get as much fame and as many endorsement deals as you possibly can, like, man, yeah, sure, take your page out of Jonathan Perez's playbook and like be you, do that guy. But like, I imagine you chose PSG in this project because you thought that you could accomplish something before you make the dream move to Real Madrid or wherever else that you go.
Yeah, he wants the Champions League, right? Yeah,
just do it. Like, just do it. I don't understand why it's so damn difficult. But at the end of the day, like, I can't pretend to understand what it's like to be in his shoes. He's crazy famous, has an enormous amount of money. Whatever it may be. But the one thing he doesn't have, and if we're going to compare him to Ronaldo, I will also point to the fact that, like, Ronaldo almost has legs to stand on when it comes to bitching at players because he's achieved so many things.
Yep.
Mbappe has yet to do that. Mbappe has yet to lay his claim to everything. So, again,
he does have a World Cup, though.
Yeah. Sure, right? But, like, I mean, also, if he plays for Portugal, does he get that World Cup?
Yeah.
Maybe not. I think France has so many damn stars. It's an argument that team was going to win it regardless. But we'll see. Again, we'll definitely peel this back, and I'm sure there's going to be a ton more in the weeks to come. I can't wait. Maybe this will give us a reason to watch Ligue 1. We'll see. But moving forward, look, I just want to kind of conclude the episode today by saying, hey, look, I know it was a long one, guys. Thank you again. We're definitely going to kind of clean up how we go about the show moving forward. But I love talking about all this shit. And I love talking about it with two people who know the game as well as they do. Alina, Andre, thank you both so much for joining. Excited for the next one. And guys, stick around. We're going to introduce more content as we go along. I think next episode, we're bringing in things like maybe All or Nothing, some other content that I know is hitting YouTube, other platforms out there all around the world of footy. And that's what we're all about. We want to put as much spotlight as we can on all of the great creators and content that's out there. So again, from us here at Box to Box, we really appreciate it. We'll catch you guys next time. Thank you. See ya.